And now it's time for War Lore with Para, the part of the stream where Para goes on about WoW's lore. A screen fades in while she's playing World of Warcraft's remix while huffing copium. And if you understand this reference, I'm not sorry for this or the horrible attempt at an accent.
Okay, Garrosh next to the horde. Well, okay. Let's think on what Green Jesus was thinking at the time. He needed to find himself after Cataclysm and being split into 4 fucking different elements, and then focus on himself so he didn't feel like he was the right leader. Up until that point, there had been no other races that were war chief of the horde. It had always been an orc. So the only orc that he could actually entrust with that sort of leadership was Garrosh. That's the thing. Trolls couldn't be war chief back in this time. Any other race could not be the leader of the horde. It had to be an orc. Granted, that definitely got scrapped later on, because after what happened with Garrosh in Pandaland, in Warlords of Draenor, and the one that fit the bill at that time then was Vol'jin. But leading up into this, Garrosh was already getting corrupted by the Heart of Azir because he wanted fucking power. Which is how he ended up with Tides of, like, the fucking Tides of War book. Legina having Theramore being blown the fuck up. Which that didn't even happen until, like, halfway through this expansion, if not toward the end of the expansion. Which then turned into war crimes. But during this time, too, in the Shattering book, Garrosh was being led by Garen Bloodhoof and Eitrigg. Problem is, Eitrigg was way too old of an orc to want to step up to the mantle. And he told Thrall, no, I can't do that, I'm far too old. So, Eitrigg became an advisor, Karen became an advisor, didn't want to commit. Sylvanas only committed the war crimes in the sense that she wanted to bring more Forsaken. That was her thing. She wanted to bring more Forsaken to the Horde, because the only way her people can thrive is she has to use the fallen, the killed, the dead, to do so. So back in Cataclysm, and technically at the end of the Wrath of the Lich King, Sylvanas had thrown herself off of Icecrown Citadel. So technicality with Gilneas, they were encroaching on Lordaeron. It had been a battle between Lordaeron and Gilneas at that point, because up until that point, Gilneas had shot themselves out of helping the Alliance as a whole. They literally put up that giant fuck-ass wall to block themselves out from helping in the Third War against the Lich King. They literally isolated themselves and told the Alliance to go fuck themselves for the entire conflict with the Lich King, and said incidences that happened at the Wrathgate in Wrath of the Lich King brought on the Plague. The Plague was not supposed to be used against Horde and Alliance, but was because Putricide decided to say, fuck y'all, I'm OG, I'm boss, and decided to nuke everybody else. So Sylvanas ended up taking that same weapon and threw it on the Gilneans. So yes, Sylvanas is absolutely one that has committed war crimes against the Alliance, technically. Where the Horde versus Alliance thing still made sense. But in order for her to get people to be in the Forsaken, she had to use the Valkyr, who she made a deal with while she was basically in limbo. Yeah, Sylvanas said, fuck you, I do what I want. Which at that point I was like, fuck yes. And the fucked up part is, if you go back into that area of Cataclysm, Garrosh called her a bitch, but they got rid of it. The Mr. Clean Satan, yeah, Mr. Clean Satan himself. Hot take, the Forsaken shouldn't have been a player race, but a neutral faction. Yeah and no. With the way that the Alliance worked, they did not want the undead, because it was an abomination against the light and the living. So even if it was people of Lordaeron and people that had fallen to the Lich King, they didn't want that in their capital. Yeah, the Death Knights were definitely the step in letting the undead join the Alliance, because they hadn't been turned into Forsaken at that point. Economically speaking, the Forsaken are again the race that cannot reproduce their numbers. Yep, they cannot reproduce, so the only way that they can is by killing and resurrecting with necromancy, which means they are enemies of the living constantly. Pretty much. And honestly, it was Anduin that spoke to Varian to let people that were turned into Death Knights to join the Alliance. What gets me is the repercussions of what happened in Legion when we basically resurrected, killed, and then resurrected a red dragon to turn into our class mount. And that goes on both Horde and Alliance. Would not be happy about that? No, she was not happy about that. Considering the other shit that had already happened to her in her dragon flight. The Warcraft 2, I believe. When that happened? Yes, but her flight was still taken over by the orcs. And I think it was in Grim Batal that all of her eggs had been turned into chromatic drakes, or at least used against, her and the rest of the flights, or at least experimented upon, and then also turned into Twilight Drakes. Because the chromatic drakes were definitely an experience found in Neltharion, or i.e. Deathwing. All I know is I hope Alex Shallers just shakes off the Naga transformation and returns as only one who can waylay. I don't think Azshara... I mean, she could definitely put, like, an image over herself, sure. Much like how Illyria is able to change back from a full-on Void Elf. And she's, like, the fucking queen of the Highborn. It's hard to believe she's not able to turn into some form of glamoured version of her old self. Oh, no. Well, okay. Yes, Malygos was hot. Yes. Yes. But to be fair, he went crazy. Because at the time, he thought mortals should not have the arcane or the magic, which then was also taken control by old gods, causing said madness, which then spiraled out of control, causing the Nexus Wars, where we had to kill him. Now, Sindragosa, absolutely, Sindragosa's hot. I am so glad they brought fucking Sindragosa in. I was so fucking happy. Yeah, no. Sindragosa absolutely is hot, and it's fucked up how she came to be because of fucking Arthas. Though she wasn't even allowed to fucking rest after she perished. No. Her body got resurrected. Because what's more powerful? A fucking undead consort of an aspect. I think in terms of Azeroth's closing chapters, I should fucking wondering, and hopefully she leaves her life to be clean to us all. Maybe, but I don't know. That'd be like one hell of a fucking redemption to get people behind. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but definitely would be not really a stretch, but it'd just be weird. Yeah, I'm tired of redemption arcs. I really am. I am so tired of redemption arcs. Like, I hated the direction they took Sylvanas, and the only way that they could technically redeem her was having her do penance in the fucking maw. She did so many war crimes. She did! But said war crimes also helped further her race. So that would mirror Azshara, technically. The only big thing I hated what they took with her direction was that they blamed that her soul wasn't hers. Which, I mean, we kind of figured her soul was splintered anyways because of what Arthas did to her. And then maybe half of her soul went down into the maw to where the jailer got it. Always wrong, but did things for good intentions. What's the phrase? What's the phrase? Good in theory, bad in practice. Because Illidan did the same thing. He's another one, although with him, I know more about because of Warcraft 3. Yeah, so Warcraft 3, what they did in Legion with the time hopping. Oh, also he was doing bad things. So, like, he was willing to push the limits to get the job fucking done. That was Illidan. In order to break through the barriers of fucking Azshara. Yeah, he was always about fighting fire with fire. So, like, even when you do the Legion quest line for him, well, guess what we can too? Exactly. So that's why he sacrificed his eyes to basically become a double agent for the Legion so he could semi-infiltrate, Ajara's palace. But oh no, Malfurion and Tyrande were like, Illidan, how dare you? Ooh. And the way like both of them, well, okay, mostly Tyrande, spat in Illidan's fucking face. Honestly, I understand those two at the start. But as time progresses, you're like, would you just shut the fuck up and do it? Tyrande's an idiot. Thank you. Thank you. So you agree that Fandral was right. I can't stand Tyrande. I was like, you're a 10,000 plus year old elf. Yes, I understand. Your world tree got blown up and there was a mass genocide of your people. But that does not mean you need to become a fucking edgy bitch for the sake of a loon to get revenge on the Horde and Sylvanas. And then decide to jump headfirst into the fucking portal into the Maw. With no second thoughts. No second thoughts whatsoever. No preparation, just boom, goes in. I'm on the hunt. So, like, you basically turned into Maiev. A way worse version of Maiev. Yep, Chandris did, absolutely. Because, like, the whole bit toward the end of Dragonflight was them passing leadership down. So, like, what's better? Chandris absolutely should take over. Yeah, so the Wrath of Elune was supposed to be a last-ditch effort, not to be taken lightly, and we later find out in Shadowlands that because of it, Tyrande could have died. But because Elune was present in the Shadowlands, he basically pulled away her wrath out of Tyrande when she went to go kill Sylvanas. It was like, just so stupid. So stupid. I hated that whole thing. Like, I was so glad they speed ran the fuck out of Shadowlands at the end. Because, like, if it kept at that pace, it wouldn't have made it to Dragonflight. Question. Yeah, no, I don't... The trajectory, at least with that, made sense. Because up until that point, the Titans were all knowing. And their way was the only way. Because, like, if you take into what happened in Chronicles 2, they are not innocent whatsoever. Saurfang, pure warriors who were noble. Yay, Saurfang. Ugh. That hurt. That hurt to see him try to have a Makura versus Sylvanas. I'm like, come on, dude. I appreciate you're trying to go out for honor, but, like, you know she's not going to play fair. And that's when the Horde realized what the fuck was going on. When Saurfang was summoning a Makura. Like, Saurfang was one of the reasons why I still liked the Horde. I was like, the honorable Horde. This is the man's. Yes, thank you. What was that about the world being a prison? So, the world being a prison and the plane that we're on is under Titan rule. So everything goes per the Titan's design. If it falls out of line, we literally could be obliterated. That's what happened with Ulduar and Algalon. Because if we had not proven our worth, the planet was already corrupted by old gods at that point. We were the first planet in existence that wasn't obliterated by the Titans at the first sight of corruption. And technically, Azeroth is a sleeping Titan, yet corrupted in their eyes. Like, if I had hands, you would see the quotations myself. One of them caused the whatever it's called, the well. Yep. So I think it was Algalon that literally ripped up Iserge, which was the one here in Pandaria that we find the heart of. But that was the one that he literally ripped Old God out of the world and caused the massive Well of Eternity, being a forever wound on the world. To where they vowed never to do that again because of how much damage it did to Azeroth. Yeah, God Iserge. But then, of course, yeah, he dwelled in the font itself to then corrupt Azshara with the allure of power, and basically gave her his blessing, quote unquote, to save her people. Get a chance to read Legend of Eluna here. No. Let me see if I did. I don't know. Legend of Eluna here. Okay, let me read this because I actually want to read it. And we will read out loud. As we gather to defend Ymir Giselle, we can not help but recall the tragic fates of the world trees. those lost to sacrifice, to corruption, to flame. Yet there's an ancient tale told some claim it merely a legend that tells of an early tree that almost met a sorrowful fate. Though it lived only a short time, its legacy endures. Long before the first dragons drew breath, Azeroth was conquered by writhing horrors that plummeted from the skies and infested our world. Old gods. How long the reign of their black empire lasted, we cannot know. Surely it must have been a time unimaginable suffering. But at long last, there came hope. A brave titan, Agramar, discovered Azeroth, shining like a beacon in the great dark. As he gazed upon the beauty and power of its slumbering soul, he realized it was imperiled. He told the other members of the Pantheon how the world they sought had been corrupted by the old gods, and Titans gathered to eradicate this dark influence. Seeking to bring hope and healing, our Pantheon Titan Eonar carried a gift given by Balloon, a branch of Gahanir, the Mother World Tree. The Titan believed that the influence of life would drive the darkness away, so she reached down her hand and shaped the soil of Azeroth, planting the branch where it could be fed by river and sky. The branch swiftly grew into a tree, its roots extending deep below the surface. Yenar smiled, for everywhere the roots stretched, new life emerged. She called the tree Alun Hahir, in honor of her great love. When Aman'Thul saw Eonar had done, he chided her. "This is not order," he bellowed. "You have infected this world with uncontrolled chaos." The High Father pulled the world tree's trunk and tore it from the earth. They changed that. They must have just added that in there, because that wasn't it. Eonar wept tears that rained down upon the resulting crater. But as she peered down upon the sundered earth, the Titan realized a truth she did not share with the High Father. Though he had destroyed the tree, its winding roots still held firm beneath the soil, hidden by Aman'Thul's gaze. As the forces of the Titans waged war against the Black Empire, Eonar bid her keeper, Freya, to watch over the crater and nurture the life that blossomed there. Below ground, the roots fed upon the tears of Eonar and grew strong. The war was long, but in the end the Titans claimed victory, and Eonar was pleased, knowing Alun's legacy would endure. It is said that much later, as the world entered a new age, mysterious guardians arrived who dedicated their lives to protecting the root. And that is the tale for another time. Now let us stand with our allies to defend Amir Drasil, crown of harmony. Together we shall preserve the symbol of hope, the symbol of the future. It's a separate story, but it's similar to what the Chronicle writes about Aman'Thul reaching down and Teria Shiraj might consider what really happened to the Well of Eternity as its true origin. Okay, so like technically I wasn't wrong for what I was reading in the Chronicle. Okay. But again, that just paints that the Titans aren't as good as they seem. I remember sitting in another streamer's chat and we were just going on about how the light was not good. Not as good as it seemed, especially after Legion. And what it tried to do to Illidan.
Your old life has passed. The light will forge you a new one.
It is not yours to take.
The light will heal your scars.
I am my scars.
The light is your destiny.
My destiny is my own. You've doomed us all, betrayer! Your faith has blinded you. There can be no chosen one. Only we can save ourselves.
This has been Warlore with Para. Tune in next time for more shenanigans, or check her out live on twitch.tv, Paramora Sen.
Goodbye.